Hi, good afternoon, everyone. The weather has changed where I live. It is now like 60 degrees and I'm loving it. Fall is my favorite time. It used to be summer, but not anymore. This video is about some of the things that shocked me about going through a divorce or a breakup. During my divorce, which took 7 years, it's still not really over. A lot of friends came out of the woodwork. And my theory now is that they were in cahoots with my husband. They were talking to him sometimes on a daily basis. And their job was to influence me. And a lot of them succeeded. But it's taken me a long time to figure this out. These were people that never called me. All of a sudden they were calling me all the time. And it was very shocking to me because I was told, be very careful what side of the fence your friends are on, you know. I was very cautious, but evidently not cautious enough. Another thing I noticed is I never thought in a million years that my own children would alienate me, not just for 6 months, but sometimes for a year or two. That was the most hurtful thing because one spouse can poison and intimidate children who are not emotionally mature. And that's the only thing I ask of my spouse during this time was, please leave our children out of it. They were, of course, grown adults. Well, that didn't happen. He influenced them immensely. And it was only when they actually moved in with him did they realize that I wasn't full of shit, that it was really true. And it was the kind of relationship where I could not tell people what was happening to me. I just saw this cartoon where this guy's trying to explain to somebody about a narcissistic relationship, and he's got this diagram of all these lines going everywhere, and that is what it's like. You cannot explain to people what it's like to be in that relationship. It's almost impossible because 9 times out of 10 they're not going to believe me or believe you. Yeah, and they didn't believe me. They had to see it for themselves. And of course, they know everything is about control and power. So another thing that shocked me is I now have my children back. Taken a long time, but also they will also use the grandchildren. There was times where my grandchildren who I helped raise, I was in their life like 3 days out of 7. And I really do mean that. I never got to see them almost, I guess, 9 months. And that just tore my heart out. They are now at almost 21 and 17, I think. They are now, using their own brain. They now have a little control because they're driving. But there was times where I didn't even get a phone call because of course, they are also being used because when your parents get a divorce, you really shouldn't take sides, ever. You should not. And that's something I try to stress, but of course, that's not the narcissist way. Another thing that shocked me is while I was going through this, I needed a lot of money to pay for attorneys, and I had all these guys calling me, and the minute that they knew that I needed help, phone calls stopped. Now that I am legally divorced, now they're coming out of the freaking woodwork. And you know what I'd like to say to them? Kiss my ass. Because when I needed them, I could have come out of the divorce a whole lot better if someone had just, lent me enough money to pay for the attorneys when they found out my assets. They wanted $50,000. And everybody knew I was good for the money because I was supposed to split the assets. Would have been an easy $500,000. But because these guys, all they would say was, well, at what cost are you going to keep fighting this? Well, here I am, almost 65, and I'm still fighting, and I'm still living on a shoestring. And these guys, they want to see me, they want to date me, and I just freaking ignore them. Because if you're not there for someone when they really need it, then they're not a friend. They are a user, they are an abuser. I want nothing to do with them. I have blocked so many people for this. Yeah. Because now that it's all said and over with, I don't even think they realized what they had done, So, it's sad. Divorce makes people do really strange and sometimes predictable things. A lot of narcissists love to control you with money, and mine just totally stopped giving me my paycheck, and I owned the company. So you can imagine, and with a protective order in place, I couldn't even go near my own office because it was on the property that my spouse at the time was living. So I couldn't even go in my own office to cut a check. But I did eventually close the bank account. And then because I found out he bounced 96 checks in 1 year. Oh, but he said he was running the company really well. Bullshit. I had never bounced a check, ever. But when he took over the bank account, oh my God, I was, the money, the bad check fees for that alone was in the thousands. Can you imagine? Well, I closed that bank account because I was the owner of it, So yeah, you're going to lose a lot of friends. You're going to find out that your family members are going to take a back seat. They want nothing to do with you. But the most precious thing a family member can do is just give you love and listen. I don't think, I had one family member who I've always been close with. She actually said to me, oh, I dodged a bullet on that one. Or I dodged a train, or whatever that saying is. I wanted to say, you have always been acting like you're my friend, but you're not. You're not. And this is a funny thing. A lot of my very close friends and relatives, I do believe, had affairs with my husband. Oh, yeah, because I know two different instances where my husband helped them get out of town when they were visiting us. And the ride would have taken like 20 minutes. He was gone for 6 hours. 6 hours. And these were my very best friends. I mean, you can't trust anyone in a divorce situation. This happened another time where my husband would get in the vehicle with one of my girlfriends or one of my relatives or some of my aunts, and he wouldn't come back for 6 hours. And I was thinking, what the hell did you do in 6 hours when it should have taken you 20 minutes? They all loved to talk with him. He was a great conversationalist. Yeah, and they all looked up to him. And I think a lot of them were jealous of the relationship we had because he was my best friend. I grew up with him, but the last 6 years of our marriage turned pretty violent. So, yeah, be ready for anything and everything when you are getting ready to leave your narcissist or when you're going through a divorce. I would sincerely think that you should, if you can, don't talk to anybody for a year. I mean, I didn't. I did not talk to anybody for a year. But then after that year was up, they all came out of the woodwork wanting to know all the little nasty details. But none of them were there to help me. They were just curious. Of course, I know that they were reporting back to him. So, yeah. And if you're involved with somebody, don't tell them, because my ex actually put it in our temporary, I guess, order that if I lived with the guy 3 days out of 7, that I would lose my alimony. Well, that didn't happen. And anyway, how would you monitor that? You would have to hire a private investigator to follow the person to see if how many days or nights a week you're sleeping with somebody else. But you know what? He had a girl living with him during this time. You see, it's that double standard. It's a stupid, stupid thing. Yes, I'm mad because the courts, I mean, it's not set up. There's irregularities for either sex. And I really, really have great empathy for the men who are not able to see their own children. That was the most hurtful thing, is not seeing the people that you brought into your life or your grandchildren. But yeah, be very cautious. I would definitely not talk to anybody for a whole year. The one person I did talk to is God, and he guided me through. He guided me through everything, because there was many times that I wanted to just end it. I didn't think I was strong enough. And I'm going to cry. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the only one you can really depend on, I'm telling you. So I'm going to get ready to go to work. Here's another pair of those earrings I was telling you about. They are so beautiful, and they pick up the colors wonderful. I don't even know I have them on. So until another day, I hope I've sparked a little bit of thinking for you if you're in the middle of this nightmare. It is a nightmare. Divorce is worse than death, because the person you're divorcing is still alive. Yeah.